Fishful Thinker Television, brought to you by Sportsman's Warehouse, America's premier outfitter, Peterson Toyota and Toyota Trucks, moving forward. Coldwell Banker, every day until it's sold. St. Croix Ride, best rides on earth. Evinrude, spend more time on the water. Good morning. Welcome to Fishful Thinker. I'm Chad LaChance, and once again, we appreciate you joining us. In the boat with us here today, we have Mr. Patrick Lantis. Patrick is the captain of the Colorado State University bass fishing team. We're dressed in all the gear, and we're straight up bass fishing on Pueblo Reservoir here in Colorado. Going to be a fun show. We may do some mixed bags, some wipers, some walleye. You'll notice I'm a little bit hoarse, and I apologize for that, but it's going to be a fun show. Patrick's never been here before. He's traveled all over and fished, but not here. What do you expect out of the day?
I'm just expecting to have a pretty good day. The weather's great. We know the water's dropping, so we're expecting these fish to be probably out on these main lake points and stuff like that. So we're gonna throw some few things at them and see what happens.
There you go. It's the fall of the year where there's a ton of shad in this lake. That means shad type presentations. I'm gonna get started with a hard jerk bait. Looks like he's gonna get started with a soft jerk bait. Gonna be a fun show. You guys stay tuned. This is gonna be good. There's a fish right here. Nice smallie right off the bat. And that's a good deal right there. You go to a place you haven't been in a while, you get out your confidence bait, right? And if you watch Fishful Thinker very much, you know my confidence bait is one of two. It's either a jerk bait or the gulp minnow. Now that's no monster, but we've been fishing 5 minutes, maybe 5 minutes. Haven't been this lake in several months. Our guest here has never been here, like we said, and right off the bat, we've got which would be a very respectable start to our day. On a jerkbait in the fall, fishing around bait, adjacent to deep water, right outside a cove. Perfect. See you, buddy. He bit me on the way down. Boom! That's right. There we go. That's how we do it. That's how we do it. Now, it's always good to get the show off to a quick start. I always talk about confidence baits. Well, how about that? How about 2 fish and a couple of casts, and got another smallmouth. When you start talking about smallmouth, you got another one similar to the last one. When you start talking about smallmouth, a hard jerkbait or a gulp minnow, if you've got 1 or 2 of those tied on, or both of those, now this one's gonna get me. You watch, I'm gonna get stuck with a treble here in just a second. But the deal goes like this, is baits that are fast and erratic and more or less match what they eat are good ways to catch them. And this one's really determined to get me. And so, all right, we're gonna be a little careful about that. I'm gonna go this route instead, right, and get a hold of him. All right, now you do have to be careful. I mean, all jokes aside, I joke constantly about how smallmouth can be a handful, but this particular bait with 3 trebles on it, hey, caramba. You get 3 trebles, like these little sharp trebles on the back of this jerkbait right here. It is a prime way to get yourself stuck, and that is no fun. I find the smaller the fish are, the more dangerous they are as well. So keep that in mind, guys. I keep my pliers in my pocket at all times, always, while we're fishing, and even more so with treble hooks. Come on, now you notice, quick. I am not gonna give them a chance really to give it a long look. I'll give it a short pause here and there. Very, very aggressive with the bait. If you're ever gonna be aggressive with the bait, this is the time of year to do it. And the reason being is these fish are extremely well fed. There's dead shad floating all over the place. They've got all the food they need. So I really need to get them to react to a bait. And smallmouth, more than almost any of the bass species, spotted bass as well, but especially smallies, love to react on a bait. They're aggressive, they have a famous bad attitude, and that's really what you're looking for with this real fast, erratic bait. And you see that shad floating right there, and he's kind of swimming off in little circles, and obviously he's seen better days. What's happened here is it's middle of October. They had a big freeze last night. It got really cold. It doesn't look like it's hard to imagine right now, but we're in the desert. Keep that in mind in southern Colorado. Those shad get shocked, and when they get shocked like that, they basically have a die-off. It's a natural cycle. All the sport fish in this lake will eat those shad. So we're gonna try to watch for those shad just like that. They're on the surface all around us. We will all day long be fishing around those shad. If we don't see those, we won't fish there. All right, so the deal is this. when you're fishing around these shad, the whole thing in fall on western reservoirs, you need a couple of things. Water tends to be falling constantly in western reservoirs in the fall of the year. It's a very common theme. It doesn't matter if you're at, you could be at Lake Powell, you could be at a lot of places. Bottom line, these canyon reservoirs, it tends to be falling, so we want immediate access to deep water. The flip side is channels can be that access. So we're in a relatively flat area right here, but we've got a channel that swings through here. That can be a really key thing. That access to deep water combined with the bait is really what you're looking for to build your pattern. That's the whole shooting match when it comes to building a pattern. And Patrick, when you go to new lakes fishing with the bass fishing team, I know you guys fished a couple of lakes you've never been to, right?
Right, yeah.
And so what do you look for as far as establishing your patterns where you went?
You know, for the most part, we do a lot of homework before we go out. We sit down with the topo map and we take in the time of year, seasonal conditions and all that kind of things, and then we just mark out spots that we think are going to be good. And you know, sometimes we'll go and just make phone calls to local tackle shops, just trying to get some local knowledge.
Sure.
But you know, we're at a huge disadvantage, you know, because it's only a one-day tournament. We've never seen the lake before. We're not in our own boat.
So yeah, that makes sense. So you're out of your element a little bit.
Research beforehand is really what helps us out.
That makes good sense, and I would agree with that no matter where you go. You know, one of the sites I belong as a field editor, and I have been for many years now, at fishexplorer.com. Great place to do some research, find out about lakes, find out about the patterns of those lakes, find out about current conditions, past conditions, wind history, barometric pressure, the whole 9 yards. All of that information will help you. Okay, so a little bit deeper out off the end of the point. And one thing people ask me is, why do I throw a jerkbait on spinning tackle? A lot of bass guys want to throw a jerkbait on casting tackle. For my 2 cents, it's more controllable on spinning gear, for one. For two, I like to fish it on light braid, braided line. In this case, Fireline Tracer braid. That handles better on a spinning reel if you're gonna use light braid than does heavy braid on a casting reel. And three, the baits tend to be bulky for their size, and or for their weight, I should say, and so they don't necessarily cast particularly well. So that's part of the deal. So if you're gonna throw a bait that's as big as this bait is with you know, no heavier than it is, then you need to do it with a rod that's capable of doing that. And as with all Fishful Thinker episodes, you match your bait first, then your line, then your rod, then your reel. In this case, it all adds up to a spinning reel to me. Now, where was that fish? Right on the end of a point, okay? We always try to establish a pattern. We caught a fish on that point, we caught a fish on that point, we caught a fish on this point, we've caught no fish in between. What do you think we're gonna do? We're going point hopping. We're gonna try to extrapolate our pattern. We've only been fishing for maybe 20 minutes. We've caught a few fish. We haven't caught any big ones yet, but we've caught some fish, and that's gonna get me kind of dialed in. How important is, there's a big boil right back there. You see that? Big boil up against the bank. We may go back over there. How important is it to you as a competitive guy, especially in a one-day tournament, to quickly establish a pattern?
It's pretty much everything. I mean, especially in those one-day tournaments, like you said.
Fish right here. Oh, yeah, there we go. What do we get? We got another smallie. Now, that's why you want to quickly establish a pattern. Now, a keeper on this lake's 12 inches, and that's actually a spotted bass, and it's probably a little bit short of keeper, so he's a little guy. But the reality of the situation is that pattern, the reason you want to, no, it is a little smallie. The reason you want to establish that pattern is for that exact reason right there. We came from that point, we come to this point, we don't get bit on the bank. As soon as we hit the end of the point, we get bit right away.
Oh, there's a big one following.
Big follow, huh? Fish right here. He is gonna make drop shot history.
Drop shot history.
This is it. This is Fishful Thinker history. The first fish caught on a drop shot rig ever on the history of Fishful Thinker. Swing them on up in here. Nice, there you go. The reason I say that, I've often said you don't have to be good at every technique, you just have to be good at most of them, or at least a good cross-section of them. I am not a drop shotter. Apparently Patrick is a drop shotter. Why don't you hold him up and show him to everybody? There you go, and a giant.
He's a giant.
He's on the board, that's a good sign. Most importantly, he's got a little drop shot rig, some crazy little worm on there. I'm not a drop shotter, but that doesn't mean that it's not a great technique. It just means that I don't have a lot of confidence in it. How important is confidence in catching fish?
It's everything. If you have confidence in what you're doing, you're gonna catch fish. If you don't have confidence, hate to tell you, but
show us what you got.
Basically, you just have a one-aught like a split shot, drop shot hook tied up at the top. Just use a Palomar knot, but what you want to make sure you want to do is take that tag end line and put it back on the hook side after you tie your Palomar knot, because that's going to make that hook stand out like it is right now. And then 1 foot to 2 feet leader length. I like a little bit shorter, usually 1 foot, maybe even sometimes shorter than 1 foot. So, and he's hooked up here. So
I like jerk baits, but drop shots are good too.
Let me get this drop shot in there.
No, but you're taking like something like 1 foot a leader, something that below there to your shot weight below.
Right.
And what do you normally put on there? Like a 3-inch worm or a minnow? Like I'm a goat minnow junkie, so for me that would be one of the things I'd consider. But what else do you put on it?
Usually any kind of roboworm is probably my favorite. Usually 3, 4. You know, if you're going after some bigger bass, maybe a 5-inch. But there is a variety of things that you can put on a drop shot. So just kind of have to find one that works for you, and definitely, you know what's in your lake and what the fish are eating and stuff like that, and just plan accordingly. So.
Will it catch fish bigger than this?
It has, yes.
All right, good. All right, thank you for sharing that drop shot with us. Here at Fishful Thinker, we're all about using quality tackle, and some of that tackle can involve some relatively expensive hard baits like crankbaits and jerk baits. One of the most important items in my boat for allowing me to fish those baits with confidence without worrying about losing them is a plug knocker. We've all snagged baits and we've lost those baits, and it gets expensive, but if you have an item like this in your boat, you won't lose the baits. You hook this on your line, where your line runs through the middle of here, it will extend out up to 15 feet long, allowing you to reach down and get those expensive baits, whether they're stuck in the bottom or potentially if you have an errant cast and they're up in the trees. A plug knocker like this will absolutely pay for itself in a very short period of time. There's very few crankbaits that will dive more than 15 feet deep, so this will allow you to get the vast majority of your baits back. It might cost 20 bucks, but it's worth every penny in the long run. Now, you see that ball of live shad right there, guys? That's the deal. That's a ball of bait, quote unquote, right there. And those are little tiny young of the year shad. And that's exactly that's the forage of choice around here. Nice. Oh man, did you
he's a train.
Call the taxidermist, get the net. Well, you got the overachiever in the group. Oh, that's good fun right there. Got a single rock sticking out off the end of a bluff. Talk about a nice spot. Throw the bait out past it, nice and straight. Pull it down. Really? Boom! There we go. I was gonna say, there's no way it's gonna come by that and not get bit. There's just no way. Now, again, he's not a big one. We have not had good contact with big fish yet, but we have certainly figured out how to catch these by the dozen. And you may not win tournaments with them, but it is a fun way to fish, I will say that. And you know, jerkbait and smallmouth and wipers and all them in this time of year is a good possibility. Now we just got to figure out how to catch this one's great grandmother. All right, now that's why you throw back, because he just swiped at a jerkbait and missed, and they almost never come back for jerkbaits.
Oh, nice.
So I threw a crankbait, and that's why you throw the crankbait, because the jerkbait is just such a reaction bait, the fish don't want to come back, and this is a much bigger fish than what we've been getting. So we'd like this one to stay pinned here. He's wrapped in the line. We're just gonna swing him in here. Now there's a classic Pueblo smallmouth right there. Now, if I can get a hold of him gracefully. Thanks, Patrick, for pointing that one out. He just came up and swiped at a jerkbait, and he missed it. And I knew he wouldn't come back for jerkbait. They almost never do. So I put my jerkbait down, grabbed my little crankbait, ran it across that point, and lo and behold, we got him. Now this is a lot more of what you hope to see here at Pueblo. Again, it's on another point. Now that's a slab right there. That's a pretty one. Good colors on him, big fat belly, nice body on him. Beautiful, absolutely beautiful fish. And we'll be graceful about putting that one back right there. That's That's a good one. That's the kind you want. I really appreciate you pointing that out.
I'll take half credit in that one.
Half credit?
Half
All
credit.
right. There you go. Beautiful stuff. I'll show you. A completely different bait. Still a reaction bait, but now I've got a little crankbait right here. Real bright colored little crankbait. Just threw it back on the same point after the boat drifted by. Gave him maybe 30 seconds or a minute after he missed the other bait. Threw the crankbait back by and smoked him. Got him. Okay, well, I was just gonna say, there we go, that's another nice smallie right here. Now he ate that crankbait, we're getting up in here. Now part of the reason I put the jerkbait down was, for one, I think, well, let me get some slack out. That's a rookie move, to give yourself no slack to deal with your fish, is because we're getting later in the day, as you can probably tell from the light, and this guy don't wanna hold still. Got him with 2 hooks, nice fish. Not a huge fish, but a quality fish, and we'll take him. Part of the reason I switched away from the jerkbait, to me the jerkbait is a straight reaction bait. When the fish are not really feeding is when I really want my jerkbait. When they are feeding, and see, he's no giant fish. He is a legal keeper in this lake probably, but not by much. We'll put him back. Part of the reason I went to the crankbait is, for one, I can cover more water with it. It's a little bit easier bait to manipulate and throw and cover water with, and two, with that real, even more rhythmic action that a crankbait puts out, it's a good way just to get bites from fish that are actively looking to eat, rather than just getting them to react. Fish that are looking to eat, a good way to get them on the crankbait. So it's a 1-2 punch. I could probably go along here with a jig or a variety of other things, but almost nothing is as fast as the crankbait. So that's why we switched over to that. The chartreuse bait, because we got a little color in the water, we just want them to find it and eat it. So that's the whole deal with crankbait, and we'll see if it'll keep working, making short casts right on the bank, and then working the bait down the incline from there and getting bites. Gotta love it. Now, they didn't have college bass fishing when I was fishing, and so all my fishing has been at club fishing or opens and stuff like that. Are the rules the same for collegiate guys as they are for traditional bass tournaments?
Collegiate tournaments are team-based tournaments. Okay. So it's two people in a boat, and it's actually in FLW tournaments, it's your best 6 fish.
Your best 6?
Technically, it's supposed to be the best 3 from each person.
Gotcha.
Those are the fish that you weigh in.
Gotcha. But you'll have 6 total in your well, so it's a combined weight.
Right.
Gotcha. And do you fish? Got him. Do you fish with the same guy? That's a big one right there, guys. Do you? I don't think he's that big. I don't know what he is. He may not be. He might be foul hooked actually, because he's coming at the boat quick.
Oh, he's.
No, it's a largemouth coming on up in here. Big spotted bass. There you go. So, second species of the day. We've been fishing now, we're about into our 3rd hour of fishing now. Got our second species. We've been really just banging out smallmouth one after the other. Lots of little fish. And there's a spotted bass. A lot of folks aren't familiar with spotted bass. Those are fairly common in California. There's some lakes in Arizona that have them. Here in Pueblo, I think this is one of the only lakes in Colorado. I think Navajo has some spots, but I'm not even sure about that. They're cool looking fish. They look a lot like largemouth. You guys strong with electronics as college guys? You think, are you comfortable with your electronics?
You know, not every guy on the team has a boat.
Right.
But a couple of us that do, I mean, I practice that diligently.
Yeah.
Just to go out and just not fish, but just look at your sonar and
play with your electronics.
Yeah, and find fish, and you know.
Well, you saw today. I mean, how much stuff did we look at with balls of bait on it? You know, this Lowrance HDS stuff on here. When you start looking at,
especially for this time of year.
Big old fish.
What is that?
Big old largemouth. Look at this one, guys. Big largemouth right here.
Oh, Jesus!
Love it. No way. We're gonna get
this is a good one.
You got a nice one too?
Yeah.
Nice. Nice. Very nice.
Oh, this is a real good one.
Is it? You got a wiper. Nice. Hang on to that fish. Don't let him go. Don't let him go, dude. Don't let him go.
Oh, he's on his boat.
Hang on to him, dude. I'll get a net. I'll get a net.
Oh, Jesus.
Hang on to him. Don't let him get you.
Yeah, I'm trying.
Hang on to him. We gonna need to net him, or can I grab him? We're gonna net him. We'll hang on to that guy, because wipers, the guys at home that are watching this, everyone's gonna get ready to laugh because my net skills are coming out, and everyone knows that I suck at netting. Crank him down whenever you're ready. Crank him down. Now, my net skills are well documented here, Patrick, so you better stay on him there. Oh, God. Hang on to him. Oh yeah, folks, this is what we're talking about right here. You get on a good spot, that's the deal. And we left this spot and came back. Here he comes, lean on him, and got him. Nice! What do you think of that, folks? That's beautiful. Okay, now let me get him unhooked for you real quick. Nice fish, Patrick. Now, get yourself a hold of him and hang on to him for a second. Outstanding. Nice. One more time. You should turn around and show them to those guys. You got a one-eyed one too. That's a beautiful fish. Love that. Holy smokes, Patrick. That is good stuff right there. Love that. Same point. It's got bait on it. It's got wind on it. We've caught a big smallmouth, a big largemouth, and now a wiper. That goes to show you everyone's around the bait in the fall, huh? Now guys, we just got a double on a point. Fat little largemouth, beautiful fish, beautiful wiper. Patrick, I want to thank you on our left-handed handshake. CSU bass fishing captain right here. Guys, the future of fishing is in the collegiate bass fishing and the kids. Appreciate you joining us in the boat here in Pueblo.
Appreciate you having me.
Let's put these two back and we'll let them go, and the Pueblo can do on what it does. Let those guys go. Beautiful. Guys, want to thank you for watching. We appreciate it. Hopefully you've enjoyed today's show. We've had a good time making it. This has been Fishful Thinker, and we'll see you next week. Got him. Oh, he came off. No. God. Oh. No. Wah, wah. And this, on the other hand, is how I like to catch fish. Nope. But it's coming to the boat.
Good job, cameraman.